are listening to Fast Track Podcast, the place to be to fast track your personal finance or fast track your business, or both, through a series of conversations with those who have learned it, done it, and made it. Steve Cummings lives in Taipei, Taiwan as an American expat. 4 years ago, he set off to travel the world, making Taiwan his home base. Through these travels and adventures, he learned how to travel hack, save more money, and invest better for his future. And now he lives in a frugal lifestyle. He wants to teach others about savings and investing for their future. He started the Frugal Expat personal finance blog to give tips and ways to save more and invest more. So his ultimate goal would be to hit financial independence. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the frugality and the financial independence, and he will share with you how he does all this. So welcome to Fast Track Podcast, Steve.
Thank you for having me.
As in my intro, I talk about your world travel and choosing Taiwan as your home base. I wonder why you made that decision, Taiwan as your home base.
That's a great question. I was looking for a place so I could travel, and I needed also to be able to make some money in the process. Taiwan was a great place because on the top 5 list of countries where you can save the most while also being able to travel was Taiwan. Taiwan was like number 4 or 5. And so I decided to move there. And what also convinced me to move there was I had a friend living there. And she said, Taiwan's great weather, great people. You should just come here and you can live with me for a little bit until you can get your bearings. And I said, oh, that's perfect. I mean, it gives me a place to start off. It gives me a place to earn some extra money, and I can travel all around Asia from Taiwan.
That sounds amazing. And what are the other countries in the top of the list?
The other countries, the number 1 country was South Korea. I think they were saying in South Korea, you could save close to $15,000 a year. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good. China was on there, Vietnam, and Thailand.
And what do you do in Taiwan now?
Right now, I'm an English teacher. And so I work at a school for New Taipei City. And the way the school works is a camp-style English program. So I work about 3 days a week, making English fun. And the rest of the time, I hang out with my wife and venture around. And if it wasn't COVID time, we'd be traveling more.
So it's all about traveling and then living your life. I like it. And where did you get this idea that you want to travel around the world, since most of people, would be still in their office working and just having this idea that, it would be nice to travel around the world? What makes you to take the action?
I was sitting in an office just like most people, and I spent most of my time just sitting on the computer. And when I got done my work, I would have like 4, 5, or even 6 hours just to read. And so I would go online and I would see pictures of people traveling. I was like, ooh, I wonder what this is about. So I would research and dive into many, many travel blogs. And it kind of got me hooked. And I just wanted to just leave everything and then go and travel. And so I made that my plan. I decided to, at the end of my work year, I was going to quit, find a job teaching English somewhere, and then travel.
Wow, okay, nice. But were you English teacher before, or just because you are American abroad, then you found this new profession?
I was not an English teacher before. I tried to become a history teacher. I had passed all my tests to become a history teacher, but I was not teaching history. I was on the side, I was doing some after-school programs. As you said, as an American, I thought, I could teach some English. But first, I needed to learn how to teach English. So I left and went to Chicago. I was living in South Carolina at the time. So I left, went to Chicago, and took a teaching English as a foreign language course for about 4 weeks straight. That way I could get a good grasp on how to teach English, how to teach students that were learning English for the first time. I mean, they could be from any different language background, but I needed to learn how to teach them without knowing their language. And so I did that. And then I was able to I had the confidence in myself to go and teach English.
And how long have you been living in Taiwan now?
I have been here almost fully 4 years. I moved to Taiwan at the very beginning of August of 2017. And so I've been here ever since.
Wow. And what are the other countries you have explored since you were in Taiwan?
That's a great question. Well, I've explored a little bit of Australia. I have been to Hong Kong. I've explored Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, Argentina. I've been to Morocco. Oh, yeah, Sri Lanka, the Maldives. I've been to a lot of countries.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I was expecting the names around the region, but I didn't expect like a Honduras and somewhere so far away. Sounds very adventurous. And what are the travel hacks you would like to share with us? How to save money from that?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of the travel hacks I like to use is I like to sign up for credit cards. I'm very good at paying off my credit card on time, which is you need to do that if you use a credit card. And so what I do is I find a good credit card that has a good bonus and also has some good bonuses when you spend money as well. And so what I'll do is every year I'll look through and find a good credit card offer. And then if there's a good bonus that I know I can hit it, I'm going to sign up for it, hit the bonus, use that bonus to pay for future travels. And I've done this several times. When I was living in the States and I got into travel hacking, I worked for a man on a horse farm. And he always told me, he said, Steve, put everything on your credit card and I just pay you back. That's so you can earn cash back. And I was like, oh, so cool. But then when I got into travel hacking, I realized this is amazing. I can literally purchase things with my cards and hit that bonus and he pays me back. And I also thought, oh, I lived in an apartment with a flatmate and he would share the utilities. So he would pay me back as well. So I just started putting everything in my credit card and all of a sudden I had all these points, points for like United Airlines, points through like Chase credit cards. And then I could travel and not really have to spend much money on buying flights.
Also heard this travel like credit card hacks. You probably know from Matthias in the second episode. He applied for this woman's credit card and and there's no rule in the application form that you cannot apply for it if you are a man. So few of his guy friends also apply for this credit card due to some other bonuses. Interesting.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, if you can find something like that, then take advantage.
And now I want to talk about this frugal living because you mentioned that it's your Twitter name is Frugal Expat. Where did you learn about this frugal lifestyle and what inspires you to live this kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, that's a great question. I gained the experience and the lifestyle from my parents, actually. My family didn't have the most money. We were probably, I would say, lower middle class. And so my father was all about like gaining value from having purchases. I mean, that is coming from where we lived, what house we moved into, like what vehicles we would buy, and just even with utilities. In the US, well, I lived in Florida and it would get quite hot. So one of the things we would do is we would not turn on the AC until maybe 28, 29, 30 degrees Celsius, which is the high 80s in Fahrenheit. And then we would shut all the windows and doors and turn on the AC. But we'd only keep it around maybe 28 degrees Celsius or 86, 87 degrees Fahrenheit, just so then we can save on electricity. And so through kind of his frugality, I kind of picked up a lot of that. And I kind of lived the life of like a poor college student. When I was in college, I was not wealthy. I was working and trying to save money. And so that was something that kind of kept me going. And even after I left university, I was able to continue to live that lifestyle, just being frugal and just saving money wherever I can.
And why do you want to save money?
I want to save money for two reasons. First reason is I want to hit financial independence, which basically means I don't really have to work. I am financially free. I own my own time and I'm able to do what I want. And that comes up to number two. Number two is I would like to travel more. And it is hard to travel if you don't have money. And I figured if I'm financially independent, then I don't have to work as much because I don't need to work for money. And then I can travel as much as I want.
That's a very legitimate reason. I love being financially independent as well. I love traveling as well. I guess I need to learn more from you. Like what kind of like a frugal tips would you give it to people that you don't sacrifice your quality of life, but also you can save more money?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. You need to figure out how to live below your means. That is like, don't buy the biggest place you can live in. Buy a small, modest place that you can grow and live in. My wife and I do that. We search and search for a great price on a good apartment. And that is part of frugality. You need to find something that brings value into your life for a good price. And that's what we were looking for when we were searching for a home in Taipei, Taiwan, is we were looking for a good place, fits all of our needs for a good price. And that is one way you can live a frugal life, is trying to find things that bring value into your life. One thing that doesn't necessarily bring value into my life, but maybe someone else's, is I don't really like eating out. I like going out to eat because maybe I'm a little lazy sometimes and don't want to cook at home. But I prefer to cook at home because the food is healthier. I get to enjoy the process. I get to be at home and kind of make and learn how to make food. And that way, I save more money. And so then I can put that extra savings towards financial independence or towards traveling. Those are two of my tips. A third tip of mine is to either walk or ride a bike more. Oftentimes, in the US or other places, people like to drive. They don't use public transportation as much. And one thing I like to do is I like to ride my bike. I like to walk to places. And if I have to, like if it's pouring down rain, I'll use public transportation. But being able to ride my bike gives me freedom. It gives me good exercise, and it's free. That's the greatest part. Is like it's free. I can go anywhere, and I don't need to pay for it.
And on top of that, it's environmental friendly.
Yes. There's no exhaust coming out of my bike. It's just I pump up the tires, and I can just go.
You don't have to pay parking for it, right?
No. Well, at least not in Taipei. I don't know where it is in other countries, but in Taipei, all you need is basically a chain lock. I find like a pole or a tree or even my wife's bike, and we just connect our chains to it so no one steals it.
Yeah. I like what you said. Something brings value to you, or something does not bring value to you. You don't need to spend money on it. Maybe that brings value to other people. It's all about being aware of what really is important to you, like make you feel better, you enjoy it more. If something does not bring value to you, why spend our money on it, right? It's just purely be aware. That's also another topic about conscious spending. I don't know if you know the story. Like in the past, money to me is just I just spend. Money come and go. Come, go. I never keep enough. And then after I become aware of what I spend, as what you mentioned, like what brings value to my life, what does not bring value to my life, then I ended up save so much more than in the past. It's really crazy, just this mindset switch.
It's all about your mindset. And I know people that they'll just spend. And then at the end of the month, they have nothing left. And so they complain about it, like, oh, I'm not making enough. Everything's so expensive. But once they get paid again, spend. And I think you have to shift your mind. Even becoming frugal, you have to shift the way you think in order to change the way you do things.
And now you talk about your first goal is to become financially independent. I want to ask you, how would living a frugal lifestyle and doing what you are doing right now helps you to be financial independence? Because to a lot of people, this is kind of like a dream, very far away from the reality. So can you explain to the audience how would you do that?
Yeah, of course. One thing when you're trying to become financial independent, you need to have some good financial goals. And what you need to do is you got to figure out, okay, how much do I need to retire? How much do I need to become financially independent or financial free? One way I like to do is I use the 4% rule, which comes from the Trinity study. So I just basically take the amount of money I spend or want to spend in the future and times that by 25. That will come out to my FI number, financial independence number. Second thing, what I need to do is figure out what type of savings rate I need in order to hit that goal. Now, if you're not saving any money, well, it's going to be hard to hit that goal. So what you need to do is start thinking about your frugal mindset is take the things that are not bringing value into your life and cut them out. All of a sudden, once you start cutting out things that you just don't need and you start using your money for things you want or bring value into your life, you are now saving even more money. And it can start as small as 5%, and then it can grow to 10%. And if you are as frugal as I am, I mean, I'm doing about 60% every month. Sometimes it's a little bit less, sometimes it's a little bit more, but on average, it's about 60%. Not everybody can do that. That is just my wife and I. So everybody's goals are different, but you have to be able to raise that savings rate. Now, I just talked about financial goals, the 4% rule, and saving. One big thing that I haven't talked about is investing that money. If you're not investing your savings, that money's never going to grow. And the greatest thing about investing your savings is compounding interest. And your money will start to grow, and you're not doing anything. It's just kind of passive growing, which is one of the most amazing things is you can take some of your money and it can double within 7, 10, and then it can just grow even more. I always think about Warren Buffett. I think at age 60, he made his first billion. He's now age 90 and he's worth 100 billion. The amazing thing is that money just kept growing and growing and growing. And so if you want to hit financial independence, you need to make some good financial goals. You need to save money, and you also need to invest your money in order for it to grow.
Yeah, and also another important factor, I think, as you mentioned before, is to live below your means. If people think, when I become financially independent, I'm going to have this kind of lifestyle, I'm going to buy this and this and this, that is never going to happen if you inflate your lifestyle. Like living below your means can actually help people to accelerate and achieve financial independence.
Well, of course. I think living below your means is something that's so huge. I mean, if we let lifestyle creep come into our life and it's like we have all this money and all of a sudden we decide to spend more, you will need more in order to keep spending more. And it's a cycle that will keep growing and growing, which pushes your goals far beyond your reach.
Yeah.
And so you need to be able to live below your means and save more money.
Yeah. And the consequence of that, if you need more, which means you need to earn more, right? You earn more means you need to work harder and longer. And then basically you need to tie yourself to your job for a longer period of time. But your life, it's, the time is passing by, the time will not come back. So basically you're not living your life, but you're living your office life.
Yeah. Your life is like tied to work instead of tied to what you want to do.
Yeah, correct. And I wonder, because in the US, there are lots of, everything is big, right? If you go to the supermarket, the peanut butter jar is bigger, the chip is bigger, the house is bigger, the car is bigger. How are you not being influenced by this bigger, everything is bigger mentality?
I feel like when I moved to Asia, everything was smaller. And so I had to make my mindset smaller because apartments are smaller. There's no cars. So, I mean, there are cars, but people drive on scooters. People ride bikes. People walk to places. They get on buses. They get on the metros. You have to fit smaller. Yet the American mindset is all about big, big, big. But at some point, I think I changed my mindset moving to Asia because I started thinking smaller. I realized I can live with less. I mean, I moved across the world with a suitcase just with, I mean, a few items of clothing. I really haven't grown that many more items of clothing because I don't need it. And I realized, living in a world with just so much excess brings so much extra problems. If you have a bigger house, it means more maintenance. If you have bigger car, more maintenance. If you have a bigger closet of clothes, some of the clothes you may not even wear. At some point, you're going to have to get rid of them, and you realize, why did I spend that much money? I live in Asia, and I feel like the Asian mindset is all about, I guess, thinking more minimalistic. And being a minimalist helps with kind of combating that you need big.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that you adapt yourself so well, because imagine if you were living in a bigger house or everything is bigger, more luxurious, it's kind of hard to downgrade. It's always easier to inflate your lifestyle, right? It's always harder to go back to the lower level. So that's, I admire you for that part, very adaptable. And earlier you mentioned about investment. What is your investment strategy?
I like to buy index funds, especially US total stock market index funds. I mean, they're simple and it works.
What do you mean by it works?
You buy a simple stock market index fund. You put money into it. The S&P 500, for instance, has increased on average 10% every year. I say average because some years it's worse, some years it's better. As the market goes up, your money goes up. If the market goes down, your money goes down. If you don't even worry about it and don't think about it, less stress. So I guess that's why I made that it works.
And how much time do you spend on investing every month?
I would say maybe 15 to 20 minutes. It's not much time. It's when I have money, I'm ready. I go in and invest it. If not, I have it automated and I don't worry about it.
Nice. And do you invest in other kind of exotic stuff or only ETF?
Right now, I have probably 3 or 4 ETFs. And then I have a few dividend stocks. Like I've got Apple, I've got some Targets, and some other dividend stocks as well. And I don't really get too exotic. Just mostly I stick with index funds.
Yeah, the simple way, the reliable way.
It's simple, and like I said, it works.
Yeah.
Well, it works to me. It works to a lot of people too.
Yeah, indeed, it does. For the audience, because I want to help the audience understand personal finance, investing as well. So it's glad to hear from your side. I have so many guests. They mentioned ETF. As you mentioned, you spend 15 to 20 minutes per month on investing. So you really, average person doesn't really need to spend hours analyzing the stock market. You basically just stick to your strategy and do it automatically.
Yeah, and the greatest thing about ETFs is you get low fees. You don't need a financial advisor to tell you what you need to be investing in. It's simple. You create your simple fund and you just go with it.
Right. Yeah. And then how many years are you going to be financially independent based on your forecast?
I forecasted about 9 years from now. If we go into a massive bull market like we are experiencing right now, it could be shorter. But I'm being conservative, and so I would say 9 years.
And then how old are you this year?
I am 34, so I'll be about 43 when I hit financial independence.
And what's the retirement age in Taiwan?
I think it's 60 years old, so I'm going to be a little bit sooner.
17 years, at least 17 years earlier than the retirement. And imagine if you work in the US, I guess it's 65 or 60,
I think it's 67 right now. Probably for my age group, it may be longer. I know my father, he is 67, going to be 68 very soon. And about 67 was his retirement age.
Yeah.
He's not retired. He's still working.
Yeah.
He likes it.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, Steve.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm glad you invited me on.
And lastly, if the audience like what you're talking about, they like to follow your journey, would you tell them where they can find you on internet?
That's great. They can find me at my website, which is thefrugalexpat.com, or they can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is thefrugalexpat with the number 1. And those are the 2 great places you can find me. And I'm welcome to chat with you via DM or on my contact page on my website.
Great. So all the information will be in the show notes. Thank you so much, Steve, and nice to have you here.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Ozzy.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fast Track Podcast. Show me your support by liking this episode and sharing it with your friends. Join the Facebook group at Fast Track Podcast 1, or you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and of course the homepage fasttrack.life. See you in the next episode.